Supreme Jeans Radio.
Supreme Jeans Radio.
Supreme Jeans Radio.
Represent that real hip hop shit.
Rock on my girl Steph on Supreme Jeans Radio, baby.
This is Steph from Supreme Jeans Radio, and I'm here today with the multi-talented K-Cut.
Hey.
Hey, thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we're going to talk a lot of history with you. I want to touch on your DJ credits as well as your production catalog. I want to know, growing up, coming into the hip-hop scene, what were your influences on the DJ side as well as at the production side, and why?
My influences growing up as a kid pretty much were like Grandmaster Flash, Kool Herc, you know what I mean? Because these are the guys that were playing like all the block parties and stuff like that. So, I wanted to be like those guys, you know what I mean? And all the time that I was thinking, like when I was a kid, like I always wanted to do what they were doing and basically like develop my skills and make records and stuff like that. So coming up, those were the dudes that really influenced me as far as DJing.
Okay, and on production?
The producers at the time that were really popping back in New York were Marley Marl, because he was on the radio station, so it was like all the Juice Crew stuff. And like he really had that sound back in the 80s, you know what I mean, with, Roxanne Shante and all of that.
Taking a trip down memory lane, let's talk about Main Source, particularly Breaking Atoms. How did you guys all meet, and how did the concept for this album take place? And from the time that you got into the studio doing that, how long did it take to make?
I met Large Professor in high school. We used to go to school together. So we went to a school called John Brown High School. I used to hang out with one of his best friends, which was Van. And Van, back in the days, we used to hang out. We used to skip school, go to Green Acres Mall, and talk about fashion and all that crazy stuff. So one day I was like, yo, Van, I'm trying to do like a group. Like I wanna try to do this, So he was like, yo, my man can rhyme. And I was like, who's your man? Like everybody says they can rhyme or whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool. So he goes, yo, his name is Paul Juice. And I'm like, Paul Juice? I don't know about that. So anyway, so he introduced me to Paul, who people know right now as the Large Professor. And me and Paul, we actually clicked together because we all had like the same thinking, the same like style. So meaning like dress style, like we had everything in common. So it was just a natural thing that we linked up. So basically my brother, which was Sir Scratch, I said, yo, I met this dude that could rhyme or whatever, and he's nice. So my brother was like, all right, let's hear this guy. So I brought him over, he liked Paul, and basically we formed the group and we started doing demos. We shopped to like numerous people. We actually had a deal with Eric B. and Rakim's first label, Zakia Records, that put out Eric B.'s President. And basically the label folded, so we started all over again, and we said, all right, since the label folded, let's try to put it out ourselves. So my mom funded the record, watch Roger do his thing, Thinking Adam, and from there people started just like really feeling what we were doing. So the first DJs to really play our records on the radio station in New York City was Red Alert, and then Pete Rock and Marley Marl started playing it. So that's how we became close with Marley and Pete Rock and all of that, and Red and all of that. So once that happened, it pretty much was like a trickle effect, and a lot of labels were calling us and they wanted to basically sign the group. So we figured, you know what, let's hold out and let's just see what we could do. And then Gangstar came out with one of their records, and Chill Rob G. Like this was like all in about 88, 89. And basically we said, you know what, let's just go with the independent, because they seem to have like the hottest records right now. And if we go to the majors, then, we might just get shuffled, and, we didn't want to do that. We wanted to just get our music out. So we basically went with Wild Pitch. When we signed with Wild Pitch, they just put us in the studio, and we were in the studio for like every single day. So it took, I think it was like 4 months or something like that in the studio. Every single day in the studio, every single day.
So from the time that you started it,
Yeah.
pushing out,
Yeah.
you'd say about 4 months.
So 4 months in the studio, and I think the turnaround was probably like, it's been a long time ago, but I think the turnaround was probably like 3 months later. We just dropped the single, and from there it was like.
So I'm going to jog your memory, or try to go down and jog your memory a bit. I had spent a lot of time in Brooklyn, and I remember back then hearing this, and I was wondering if it happened before you did Breaking Atoms, or did it happen during it? I remember you broke Large Pro's turntables, and he broke your mixer. So was that, do you remember, is that when you were just coming together?
No, it's
and
so
how
funny.
did that happen?
I gotta talk to that guy about that, because you know what? I was going through some stuff back in the days, and I saw this interview that said the same thing. Like we were talking all together, and he was like, "Yo, you broke my stuff." So I'm like, "Wait a minute! I don't even recall breaking his stuff." So
But I recall you saying, "But you broke my mixer."
Probably something happened, but you know, he's actually a DJ too, so he's nice with it. So I don't know. I'm gonna talk to him about that though.
Yeah, maybe
well, we gotta clear that up. But just for the record, we gotta clear that up.
Okay.
But doing this record and being a part of the group, we actually didn't even know like what the outcome of the whole album would be, and how people would, you know, pretty much enjoy the group, you know what I mean? So again, we were just about doing our music and basically getting it out there so the masses of people can feel what we were feeling.
Yeah, you did it so nice.
Thank you.
Keeping in line with Main Source, I want to touch a bit on Nas, Live at the Barbecue. How did that come about, and did you all know when this happened that he would have such an influence on hip-hop?
Again, it's like the people that were around us, those are the people that we were going to bring along with us. You know what I mean? So Nas was actually Large Professor's artist. And he met, I believe the story was Joe Fatal, who was on Live at the Barbecue, introduced Large Professor to Nas or something like that. Something like that. But I just know that Nas was coming around the crib while we were doing the record, and was like, all right, cool. So we brought in the record to Wild Pitch, and they were like, yo, you guys need another track. And we're like, are you serious? We were just in the studio like for 4 months, like every single day. Like, are you serious? So at the end of the day, that was the last track that we did live at the barbecue. And basically I had a record from my grandfather that passed away, a Vicki Anderson record that I gave to Paul. And basically that was how we created Live at the Barbecue. And we brought like all our homies, like Joe Fatal, you know, Nas, because those were the guys that were with us, you know, when we were rocking the album, and they were in the studio with us, so we had to just bring them along with us.
Also, too, touching on Main Source, with respect to the breakup, rumor had it that there was a second album. I'm just wondering, were there songs that maybe with Large Pro that didn't didn't see the daylight or didn't make it on that?
The only record that we actually saved for the Mikey D record with Main Source was this song called Television, because it was just a great title, and for the time it made a lot of sense to just keep that record and put it on the album. And there's two different versions. There's a Large Professor with vocals, because we're actually doing it for a soundtrack, and then we used Mikey D's vocals on that record.
And speaking of Large Pro, he's actually gone on record to say that even like years later after the breakup, he gave a great amount of respect and shout out for doing your thing and him doing his. And he's gone on record to say that he's still very tight with you. And for those that don't know, a few years ago, he was actually up in Toronto with you doing a show. I know I was excited for it. A lot of people were. Is there ever been any talk about doing a collaboration with him again, some type of reunion, if not with the group? I'm not really sure where it stands with you all with the group, but even maybe with him, since you are so still tight together.
I think as far as Main Source, because a lot of people, they might see Large Professor as Main Source, but you know, with Main Source, it was actually me and Large Pro that basically created the whole situation for the group, and we made the group, and we basically were the guys that were behind the scenes that put the magic together for the group. So I think for us, I think, you know, possibly there could be something in the woodworks. I mean, we talk all the time, so, you know what I mean, you never know, something might happen.
Maybe you can buy my new mixer, and that could be. You can buy your new turntable.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
Now, speaking on your production side, I know there was some stuff that I recently stumbled on that I didn't even know that you were credited for. Like, your production catalog is huge, from even on the Canadian side, like Maestro, Fresh West, like American side, like Queen Latifah, Big Pun. I want to touch on that, the Endangered Species, like how that came about, and what songs that you've been involved in that maybe people don't even know. Wow. Because it's so intense.
I mean, the catalog is like really crazy, but I'll just break it down real quick. As far as like production, I work with Big Pun. I did a song called How We Roll. I did that with my cousin Rashad Smith, who was actually tumbling dice. He was doing like all those 90s records back in the days, Woo Ha and LL Cool J doing it, and all these other crazy records. But anyhow, I did that record. I did 702, the R&B group, a song with Missy Elliott called Get Down Like That. Wow, there's Ice-T. I work with, I mean, there's so many different people like I've worked with in the industry. It's been pretty crazy. I did a song with Seal called Fly Like an Eagle. I actually programmed the drums.
Oh, wow. It
was on the Space Jam soundtrack. So there's so many different things that I've worked with. You know, it's been crazy. It's basically like I just wanted to get music out there, and I wanted to put in a lot of work. You know what I mean? So in the 90s, I put in a lot of work. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's what it was. Just going and just working, trying to hustle and make music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, on the production side, what would you say, out of everything that you've done to date so far, is probably your most memorable, and why?
I would say a lot of the music that I've done would be memorable, because there was a time where, you know, I was sitting in my house when I was a kid wondering if I would ever be in a position to do what I was doing. You know what I mean? So I would say being in the studio with Latifah, being in the studio with Seal, being in the studio with Shaquille O'Neal, Fushnikins, you know what I mean? Like, wow.
Yeah,
it's just being around those people and being inspired to make you create and do more, you know what I mean? So all of it is memorable, you know what I mean? So it's always good times.
So I want to touch on what's going on with you right now, particularly this documentary, The DJ. I want to talk about that, the concept, the features, and where you can see this vision going.
Okay.
I think it's incredible from
Thank
what
you.
we've built on a bit.
Thank you. I wanted to basically capture, like, you know, the essence of DJing and show people the importance and the evolution of, you know, where DJing started and where it's going now. And we have like a lot of people in this film, as far as like African Bambaataa, we got A-Track, we got Neil Armstrong, Russell Peters is in the film, we got Tony Touch in the film, we got Major Lazer in the film. Scratch Bastard from Toronto. Starting from scratch. There's a whole bunch of people in this film, and basically I wanted to, you know, go from New York to LA to Jamaica to England and Toronto, and just show like the hottest DJs that are doing it right now, and basically where they're taking it, and just like where did it start from? How did it start?
Right.
And I got to go to Jamaica, because that's where the essence is. That's where everything came from. That's hip hop right there. You know what I mean? So that's what DJ is about.
And do you have an anticipated kind of release date of when you want to push this out?
We're looking probably at 2017, because realistically it has to be something. This movie, I want to make sure it's right, and I want to make sure that I capture everything, and I want to make sure that, you know, we do it properly and we do it justice, and everybody's happy about it. So it's something that I want to make sure that off the top, when you see it, it's official, and all the DJs will be happy about the film.
Nice.
Yeah.
I always say, you know you're famous when you have your own baseball cards. Have you ever seen any of these?
You know what? Oh, that's crazy. That's,
And in the back.
wow.
And do you still have that hat?
Oh,
Here
my.
But that's kind of your trademark. It's in a lot of things, right? So I even brought a Sharpie, so you can
Wow.
sign it after. But
Okay, no problem. No problem.
now I know you
This
have
is
an
sick.
event to go to tonight, and we're
Yes.
gonna try to come out there too and watch you and,
Okay.
and film you a little bit. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you.
to sit with us. And,
Thank you.
And for giving us a little bit of a history lesson here.
For real, thank you.
So we're gonna sign off. This is Steph from Supreme Jeans Radio signing off with Cake Cut.
Wow, this is sick.
Isn't that sick?
Okay, so which one can I have?